I'm Ken McElroy with KenMcElroy.com. So what happens a lot of times when people are trying to buy real estate is they focus on the price. And while I totally understand that you need to look at the price is not necessarily the first thing to look at. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to buy real estate that cash flows. We're not trying to buy real estate that goes up in value massively and sell it, because if we sell it, we have a lot of tax, and we're trying to avoid tax. So most of our investors, when I started out, it was just my money, and eventually I ran out of money. So maybe like a lot of you, where you use your own money, buy one thing, then you use your own money to buy a second thing, and eventually that money runs out. So you have to learn how to raise money. So this video will also help you understand how to raise capital, because people that invest in you, they also invest in the deal. So they invest in you as the management team, and they want to know who you are, what your track record is, and what kind of team you've generated. But more importantly, that's a check the box. What they really want to know, does the deal cash flow? Does it cash flow, or are you trying to time the market? Most deals are trying to time the market. That's why if you learn this information, you'll have a huge competitive advantage. If you can understand how to put people's money to work, generate massive income, create massive value, and then give it back to them tax-free, you'll have investors for life. So that's what I'm going to teach you now. So the very first thing that we're going to go through are some of the very basics that you need to review on every single deal. So every single deal has 4 components. The first one is very simple. It's income. Now, income can come in many forms. So let's say that you're a flower shop. Your income are the people that walk in and buy flowers. If you're an apartment building, they're your renters. They come in and they pay you rent. That's your form of income. For a reoccurring business model on the internet, it might be a subscription base of $9.99 or $29.99 a month. You know, for Amazon, you know, it's selling products, right? So for Starbucks, it's selling coffee. So income is income. And you personally have your own income. It's called a paycheck for a lot of you. So when you go to work and every 2 weeks you get your paycheck, that's your income. So it's really not a complicated subject. But in this particular case, income for me primarily are renters. And so I focus entirely on renters. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to grow the income. So the properties that I buy, I'm looking for properties that have problems. I'm looking for properties that have low occupancy. I'm looking for properties that have income potential. So just like everything else, let's say you go down to your neighborhood Starbucks. When you walk in there, they don't just have coffee. They have food. They have stuff at the register. You can buy CDs. You know, there's all kinds of things all around. Same thing in a grocery store that you can buy as you're walking through. It's the exact same process, except we're talking about real estate. So for us, for income, we're looking for ways to monetize pets. We're looking for ways to monetize views. We're looking to put washers and dryers in units and to be able to monetize that. So back 10 years ago, we were buying properties that had washer and dryer capacity. They had laundry rooms, but they didn't have washers and dryers. So we were buying hundreds of thousands of dollars of washers and dryers every year and putting them in and then charging the tenant $50 to $75 per month. So that's part of generating income. Another way is to put up carports, because people love their cars. And so covered parking, you know, garages. These are all ways to monetize your income through real estate. And for me, it's been multifamily. And there's hundreds of ways. And we spend a lot of time on this. But income is a very important piece. And most people don't understand this. So what they do is they'll try to buy things that say, hey, it's sitting at 95%, we're going to grow it to 97 or 98%. That's not realistic. You can't grow your occupancy beyond what the market's doing. So the income is a very, very important piece, and we spend a lot of time here working on income. Okay, we work on the occupancy side and we work on the other income side. It's a very important piece. The second piece is expenses. And this is typically a negative. So obviously expenses are everything from payroll to marketing, advertising and marketing. It would be your taxes, it would be your insurance, it would be all your utilities. So again, think of yourself. You probably have a mortgage, you might have a rent, you might have a car payment, you might have some vacation stuff you want to do, you have to buy food, maybe you have a pet, so you have that. Those are all expenses. So the same thing happens in real estate, except for us, I have to pay a utility bill, I have to pay the electric company for all the lights, I have to pay a water company for all the water that the tenants are using for the landscaping. And I have to pay a trash bill for the people that come and pick up the trash. So these are all expenses with every single rental, every single commercial building, industrial building. That's what expenses are. Taxes, insurance, and those are some of the things I've already mentioned. But all those things happen in this line item. And so what we're doing is we're trying to minimize our expenses. Now, you're not going to get away with minimizing them to zero, of course, because every property has expenses. So what we're trying to do, however, is figure out ways of how do we minimize our expense. In other words, if we have the trash vehicles coming to the property 3 times a week, can they come 2 times a week and pick up bigger dumpsters? That's less because it's one less trip. So that's a trip charge that we don't have to pay anymore. So those are the kinds of things that you start getting into when you start buying real estate. Same thing with marketing and advertising. In the old days, they used to advertise in the newspaper, and then it went to these rental books with distribution. Now it's all up on the internet, and the internet companies are trying to get you to pay for ads, just like Facebook ads. Same kind of thing. So it's all moved to the internet. And so for our company, what we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize our marketing expenses, but keep our traffic to our properties high. So we've been doing that through blogging and all kinds of other things to get people to come to our websites. So instead of paying for online ads. And so our company now doesn't pay any money in marketing and advertising except for salaries, because the people that we pay here at our company generate enough marketing, more than we would have gotten for paid advertising. So those are the kinds of things that you do on the expense side. We have full-time people that are just working on the insurance and the taxes for all our properties, because we have over 10,000 units, and so we're paying millions of dollars every single month on tax and insurance, and we need to make sure that we're minimizing those. All of those have to do with generating the next number, which is called the net operating income, or NOI. So a lot of people call this NOI. So this is NOI. So all NOI is your expenses after your income. How much money do you have left over after expenses? Now, for many of you, that's zero or even negative. So if you don't have a job, your expenses are higher than your income, probably. But if you do have a job, hopefully your income is higher than your expenses. Same thing with an apartment building. If I have expenses of $100,000 a month and my income is $120,000 a month, then my income for the month, my net operating income, is $20,000 a month. But if my occupancy drops down and it's $90,000 and my expenses are $100,000, then I have a negative net operating income. So that's why managing expenses and managing income is so important, because if you don't take care of these things, then this here will go up or down dramatically. And what you'll find, and this is essentially what we're going to be discussing the rest of the video, net operating income is the way to drive value. And this is the way that you create massive wealth for your investors and for yourself. If you can understand how to generate high net operating income, then you'll do very well in this business. Like I said, most people buy something and they hope that it goes up. They don't understand real estate at this level. And if you understand real estate at this level, you're going to do very, very, very well. So the next piece that we need to add is debt, or the mortgage. So when you're buying a piece of real estate, the very next piece is called debt. Now, again, Let's say it's a single family house that you're buying. Most people are going to the bank and getting a loan to buy that house. That's this. So with big commercial real estate deals, same thing. We're buying using debt. Now the cool part about debt is that it comes from other people, if you think about it. So thank you, by the way, for putting all your money in the bank, because now the bank's going, what the heck, now I have to lend it, right? Because when you put money into a bank, when people go deposit their checks into a bank, it's a liability to the bank. The bank is sitting on a whole bunch of people's money and they have to pay you interest. So they lend it to guys like me in the form of debt to buy big real estate deals. That's the way the banking system works. Yeah, that's why they give you free things to put money into the bank. Free checking deposits and free this and free that. They want your money because they lend it out higher. They give you 1% on your bank account and then they charge me 5 or 6 to borrow it. That's how banks make money. So debt is a very important piece of buying real estate because it's really OPM, or other people's money. If you can use debt, then you can get massively wealthy. Another really important piece on debt is, you've all heard of leverage, even when you're buying your home. Let's say you're buying a home that's $100,000 and the bank gives you $70,000 in a loan. You only have to come up with $30,000 to buy a $100,000 house. The rest is in the form of debt. They've given you 70% of the amount to buy that house, or $70,000 on $100,000 is 70%. That's called loan to value, LTV. So the debt is a very important piece because you don't have to come up with the whole down payment. You don't have to buy the house all cash. You can actually go to the bank. And this is a very important piece to understand. But the cost of debt is very, very important. And banks will give you this money if you can qualify. So why wouldn't you put $30,000 down to buy a $100,000 house? This is all I'm doing on a larger scale with the 10,000 units that we own. So obviously we're heavy in debt. And I'm very excited about being in debt because the tenants that I have here are actually paying this off. The last piece after debt is cash flow. So cash flow is what we're trying to do on every single model. Every single deal I look at goes through this process. It's the exact same process. So if there's no cash flow, it could be that my debt costs are too high. It could be that my expenses are too high, or it could be that my income is too low. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad deal, because I might buy something that has a 50% occupancy, let's say, and has low income. It has a negative net operating income. But if I can increase the income over 1 or 2 years, then I can massively generate higher net operating income and cash flow. So I'm constantly looking at how much do I have to put down in the form of equity, how much can I get in debt, and how much cash flow do I generate? Because as I'm investing people's money and investing my money, this is the only thing that matters, cash flow, nothing else. I'm not looking at how much is the property going to be worth in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years. Now, I'm making sure that it goes up, but I'm actually driving the value myself by generating net operating income. Because when you go to the bank to borrow money, this net operating income is what the bank looks at. And you would too. So they're saying, okay, if I'm going to give this person debt or a mortgage, I want to make sure that this is higher than this. Because if my net operating income is not higher than my debt, I'm not going to be able to pay my debt. So this here has to be in a really good position, be able to maximize your debt and to maximize your cash flow. Every single deal on the planet goes through these things. And then once you understand this, you can be massively wealthy. It's way different than buying something low and trying to sell it high. Has nothing, they don't look at any of these things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to invest for the long term, cash flow massively, which would eventually what we call an infinite return. So how do I take people's money, generate massive value by managing these things, take it back out in the form of debt, and return it in a cash flow back to the investor every single quarter, every single year. That's why our investors keep coming back to us, because we are generating massive cash flow, returning their equity back tax-free, and they now are in our deals on an infinite return. Thank you.